This is a 2-in-1, but we're gonna kind of break it down from least worst to worst. So the first part of this, okay, let me just grab a PS3 game. Oh, look at this. Look at this absolutely beautiful case. You know, I could have even grabbed one of the original PS3 cases. I'm not sure which case I prefer. I like them both for different reasons. You know, the original PS3 where it says PlayStation 3 on the side is super nostalgic, and the red on top looks cool, but I must admit on the shelf, this PS3 thing right here, just all black all along, does look pretty clean. So, I don't know, like, they both look amazing in their own ways. But anyway, as you can see, a clean copy of Dark Souls 2 looks great on the side, looks great on the back. Everything is beautiful. It looks great on the shelf, and then this thing, this demonic creation, this mistake, greatest hits cases. Why? Why is it so red? Like, when it's on the shelf, like, when you have, like, you know, you're like me and you got, like, 20 of these things in a row, and then all of a sudden, just this blood red time of the month case sitting there staring back at you. It's just, I don't know. And the sides, see, it's not even like, you know, like the black to line up with the PS3. It's kind of like this weird blood maroon red, and then usually these greatest hits cases, like, I could at least forgive it if the cover arts were the same, but usually they have, like, all this stuff just plastered all over it. So, like, rather instead of then just getting, like, you know, the cover art or whatever, one of the worst examples I can think of is, like, Batman Arkham City. I'll put a picture up on screen of, like, the original version of the game or the original cover art versus the greatest hits version. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of those things that I go back and forth on, right? Because on one hand, it's, like, kind of cool. It's like, hey, this game earned its spot in the greatest hits thing. You know, it has a special case because it's like, hey, it sold really well. It's like one of the defining games of the generation, or one of the best-selling games of the generation, or at least it met like a certain threshold. So it was like, hey, it deserves this case. And in that aspect, I kind of respect it, and it's really cool to have games like that on the shelves. It's like, hey, yeah, that was like a great whatever. But at the same time, I'm the type of guy where I don't even care about getting certain editions of the game where it has like DLC on disc, which is another thing I kind of go back and forth on. Like, it's one of those things where I don't need that version of the game. Sometimes I'll even double dip and get a first print run of the game and then go back and get a version that has all the DLC on disc, just because I like having that first print run, like, cover art of the game, which is another thing kind of like with Batman Arkham City, like I was talking about, because there's actually two versions of that Game of the Year / Greatest Hits thing, where there's a normal Black Label one, which has that cover art with all the stuff on it that I don't really like as much as the original, but it does still have all the DLC on disc, and it is also a Black Label like this. But then there's another version that's a Greatest Hits, which has all of the same content on it. And while yes, technically the Black Label actually does have extra content over that Greatest Hits version, because the Black Label one does come with a code for the Batman Year One animated movie. At this point, if you pick up the game, it's more than likely either been used or is most definitely expired. There's no getting around that. So yeah, but regardless, you know, like, I feel like in the PS3 or the PS2 case, even, like, you know, it's like okay, even though I would prefer to just have the first print run of the game with that original cover art, I can at least live with this. I'll never go out of my way to buy it, and I'll never intentionally buy it. In fact, this was one of those instances where I bought it on Amazon. It had a Black Label, and they sent me a Greatest Hits version. But it only gets worse the deeper that you dig into this. So again, we're going from least worst to worst. You know how the PS4 cases are blue normally with the nice blue thing on top? Here's my copy of Bloodborne. It's just, there's the red, and then the blue, and then the red again. PlayStation Hits, and it's just, oh, you got the red. I mean, it's cool because it kind of lines up with the Bloodborne thing, but I mean, I will say this, right? Because the Greatest Hits version of the game, they changed the color to kind of line up with it, because normally it would just be like blue and white on the normal Bloodborne thing, so it's kind of cool in that sense, because it's like almost like a special edition of the game. I do still want to get like a normal blue label version of this game at some point. This was another one, got it on Amazon. Ooh, Bloodborne, but then they sent me the PlayStation Hits version for some reason, even though that's not the one they had listed. But it gets even worse if you go back to the early days of the Xbox 360. We have this monstrosity. What is this? There's literally a tear coming out of my eye, but the worst thing is that this isn't even as bad as it gets. You thought this was bad. Look at what GameStop gave me. They've been doing this for generations, and you know, I would say at some points it's almost been worse. I mean, like this, at least they got the logo on it. You know how PS2 games are supposed to look. Here's Final Fantasy X. Great copy of the game, looks gorgeous, and then here's my copy of Star Wars Bounty Hunter. I just, like, I definitely need to order, like, at least a case for this game, because obviously, you know, I have the game works, and I mean, it's just, at the very least, even if I don't get, like, a new case or copy for the game, I at least need to find a way to print out the official cover art just so I have something. I always prefer to have the original, official, printed cover art from the factory or whatever, but, like, if I can't find a case for this thing, I will literally just go to my printer. Anything is better than this.